Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, tremors continue to shake the DR Congolese city of Goma after the Nyiragongo volcano erupted over the weekend, spewing molten lava, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Humanitarian workers struggle to work in difficult conditions. At least 22 people are thought to have been killed. Also, the US Secretary of State announces visa and economic restrictions for top Ethiopians and Eritreans in condemnation of the ongoing humanitarian rights abuses and other atrocities in the region of Tigray in the north of Ethiopia. And around 60,000 people who fled brutal extremist attacks in northern Mozambique are still heading towards the southerly town of Palma in looking for safety and help. But first, in DR Congo, at least 7 more people have died because of a volcanic eruption near the eastern city of Goma over the weekend. So far, at least 22 people have lost their lives since the Nyiragongo volcano erupted on Saturday. The latest victims reportedly were killed by toxic gas as they walked by cooling lava on Monday. Communities around the site are devastated and angry that the active volcano had not been monitored for several months. Catherine Viette tells us more.
Aerial footage shows the spread of the still smoking lava from the Nyiragongo eruption. Survivors have returned to the Buen district of Goma to search for missing loved ones and see if any belongings can be salvaged. Many are stunned by the destruction.
Asubuhi sasa ya leo tunakuta kabisa mwingine mzima yote inaisha kutokea ngamba kule juu inashuka majiwe kabisa mpaka hivi kabisa ni majiwe mpaka hivi kingali inashuka kabisa.
Hundreds of houses and buildings were swallowed up by the lava flow. There's growing anger among the residents that the Goma Volcano Observatory failed to anticipate such an event.
Oui, on ne peut pas comprendre comment on a une institution qui se respecte l'OVG, qui a un budget alloué, mais qui n'arrive même pas à nous signaler qu'il y a éruption imminente, même 1 heure avant. Ça ne se comprend pas. Il y a des gens qui ont perdu des biens, des valeurs ici.
Speaking to a local radio station, the observatory's director said a lack of funding from the government and international donors hindered the institution's ability to monitor the volcano for 7 months. One of those donors was the World Bank, which cut funding amid allegations of corruption.
From October until April, we no longer had internet at the Goma Volcano Observatory. During this period, we had no real-time data since there was no running costs. Our stations are far away, 150 kilometers away, so we couldn't afford to go.
It wasn't until May that the observatory's internet was finally restored and data was monitored and recorded. Still, the speed of the eruption took the scientists by surprise.
So for more on this, we're joined now by Rachel Bernhard, the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross's operations in DR Congo. She joins us now from Goma. Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time to join us from such difficult conditions. So you're on the ground, the area is still suffering aftershocks. It must be terrifying and difficult to work in the current circumstances. So what have you been able to do to help people living there?
Well, indeed, it's quite complex because it's just another crisis in a place which is very much affected by violence all the time. So getting exact figures and data is quite difficult. There's still thousands of eyes fled from the eruption site, or there are even still unsafe of the city to the western side. And we are like all the other inhabitants of Goma, spending much of our time outside, sleeping outside, because the earth is still shaking and we don't know if the global eruption is over yet. So it's quite difficult. We try to do the best as we can to get to the, already now from the following day of the eruption, we were in the field close to the communities. There are lots of risks because the eruption is not over. We have a lot of gas, we have a lot of fires of very dangerous sites. So we try as well to have a strong sense of duty of care for our own staff. So we are getting organized together with the Congolese Red Cross, the Federation. It's difficult conditions, but we are up and running and hopefully at full speed.
So we wish you the very best of luck in terms of making sure of doing what you're out there to do, and also looking after yourselves. But in terms of being able to help, what for you are the most pressing needs of the community still living in the midst of all of this?
The major Nyiragongo has disrupted a site of water distribution which covers over 550,000 people of the Goma city, which is a quarter of the Goma city has lost water. So it's a major concern for potable water, drinking water, for waterborne disease in a very cholera-prone area. So we are already fixing a system of distribution of water and organizing water trucking for distribution sites together with the Red Cross. That's a major concern. Another concern is all related to access to health and health facilities, because a lot of health facilities have been closed in the so-called red area. People have been moved to the eastern side. Hospitals get a lot of pressure of too much patients, not enough shortage of medicine, shortage of water, yet again, electricity. So it's about helping those health systems to have a continuum of care despite the crisis and make sure that nobody is left behind. A major concern also, for which we are used to work at the Red Cross for many years, and it's yet again another crisis which highlights this problem. It's the fact that children have been separated from the family during the big move in the middle of the night, Saturday night. Thousands of people were moving in the night and under the rain, and a lot of children have been left behind or got lost on the way. So only in 48 hours, our partner, the National Red Cross, have received 735 tracing requests from parents looking for their child. So it's a major activities we are now carrying on together with them to organize systematically the reunification.
Thank you so much. Rachel Bernhard there speaking to us from the midst of an ongoing humanitarian effort to help some of those communities affected by the volcano which erupted near Goma over the weekend. And we also have some breaking news. The Malian military said that it has arrested the Malian president, prime minister and defense minister. We will be keeping a close eye on developments on that front. So do stay with France 24. We'll be able to fill you in on the details with those as they come in. Now, Ethiopia has hit out at the US after Washington brought in sanctions over ongoing fighting in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. Addis Ababa has called the move by the United States misguided and regrettable. Thousands of people are estimated to have died in the 6 months of battling between Ethiopian soldiers and local TPLF fighters. Our Maria Girth-Nicolescu tells us more.
The U.S. Secretary of State announced the visa and economic restrictions in a statement condemning the ongoing human rights abuses and other atrocities throughout the Tigray region. He accused the parties to the conflict of not having taken any meaningful steps to end hostilities, and he said that humanitarian relief was being blocked by Ethiopian and Eritrean militaries. Now, the visa restrictions concern Ethiopian and Eritrean officials and members of security forces, as well as other individuals taking part in hostilities such as the Amhara Special Forces or the Tigray People's Liberation Front or TPLF. Anthony Blinken also announced restrictions on economic and security assistance to Ethiopia, but he said that critical aid such as food, health or education would continue. The Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Monday accused the US of trying to mingle in its internal affairs, a move it qualified as inappropriate and unacceptable. It also reiterated that it will not negotiate with the members of the TPLF who were designated as a terrorist organization by the Ethiopian parliament just a few weeks ago. This comes as the conflict in Tigray has been going on for over 6 months, with humanitarian organizations still warning of a humanitarian catastrophe, including famine and massive population displacement. The Ethiopian Foreign Ministry promised that those responsible for the human rights abuses will be held accountable, and it said that the humanitarian challenges, the challenges linked to humanitarian aid, were related to lack of resources and not lack of access.
Ria Garth Nicolescu there for us. Now, Nigerian protesters blocked a highway into the capital, Abuja, on Monday as demonstrators called for police to do more about a surge in kidnappings. Crowds barricaded parts of the Abuja-Kaduna highway near Tafa in Niger State, whilst others marched along the road. 12 people were reportedly kidnapped from nearby Madala town and 2 others from Bwari just last week. Another 6 were abducted by gunmen in Gwaraka this week. Throughout the country, kidnapping gangs have ramped up the taking of civilians for ransom. About 60,000 people who fled extremist attacks in the northern Mozambican town of Palma still trying to get by and to get into the more southerly town of Palma. People looking for safety continue to arrive there almost daily. The government said that another attempted jihadist attack took place near Palma last week. Nicolas Chamel tells us more.
Nearly every day, small boats like these arrive in Pemba. On board, families who have fled Palma. The Cabo Delgado province remains unstable since a jihadist attack in March left dozens dead. This family has just arrived after 9 days at sea.
Nifika Pemba, cha kuwaza leo pa siwaza alama kesho siwaza mpaka nitete na akili za kwa kama nikaa kinu cha siku 5 siku 6 ndipo nipanisa kuijiwa na kuikala.
After several days on the beach, the displaced are usually taken to this gymnasium. The figures vary from day to day, but currently 279 people sleep here. The government said that last week there was another attempted attack near Palma by jihadists locally known as Al-Shabaab. The UN says the latest bout of violence has displaced nearly 60,000 people these last 2 months. This young mother is distraught. The jihadist attacks in northern Mozambique began 3 years ago. Since then, more than 2,800 people have been killed. Southern African regional leaders are due to meet this week. Some analysts believe they might push for the deployment of 3,000 troops in the Cabo Delgado province.
Now, the NBA has formed its Africa branch to oversee all league business on the continent and promote the newly formed Basketball Africa League. That just launched on May 16th. The North American Professional Basketball League is banking on expanding its following and investment in African basketball over the next decade. It reckons that the venture is worth nearly $1 billion. The sport is already taking off. In the Basketball Africa League game played in Rwanda on Sunday, Angola bested Morocco's AS Saleh 97-78 for their 3rd win in as many matches in Group B. Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.
By giving sovereignty to Panama in 1999 over the canal that they themselves built, the Americans also gave it back the zone, that strip of land either side of the canal that for almost half a century had lived on American time.
This was a small, artificial country led by engineers, designed by engineers.
Despite the departure of the Americans, certain traditions have remained. And memories too, sometimes bitter memories.
Ya uno se va acostumbrando a oír los tiroteos, la bulla, las bombas que a veces comentan.
Watch The Children of the Canal, Panama Revisited on France 24 and France24.com.